and welcome. This is our third talk,
Wow,
or
yeah.
my third talk with Indra. And today, Indra is a yoga guru, and
I'm going to accept that.
I'm taking a number of her classes. And this next session that she just went into is about the inner voice, and that is especially important to me because I had lost mine for such a long time, and it's important that you listen to yourself, you listen to the messages that you're giving yourself, and it's just so empowering just to get that voice back. And
Mm,
you may have lost it in childhood, you may have lost it um, through trauma, or you may never have had it.
mm, mm.
So I wanted to talk to Indra today about what techniques she uses in these yoga classes to bring out that inner voice and what that means for people. So
Right, yeah.
I know it's your
Yeah,
your second or third session,
it's
second
second
session that
tonight.
we did.
Second tonight,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So
Well,
I'm going to take that class.
yeah, you've been coming along regularly for the others, haven't you? So,
I have. Yes, yeah.
but yeah,
Not
the inner voice is something that is close to my heart as well because I lost it too. Maybe in a different way than you did, but I lost it in my teens and out of a fear of speaking up, really. It
mhm.
wasn't it wasn't an actual physical losing of voice. It was a fear of speaking up and who I really was. And that's really my work with people is them really searching for their truth and finding out who they are. So these
Mhm.
sessions aren't about getting massively physical, although I do that just to keep the balance in the yoga session. But we don't, the focus is on the meditation and the focus is on listening to who we are and what's going on for us at that time. So remembering that it's always shifting, it's always changing, and it's about being very present to what that voice is doing at that moment in time.
Yeah. And sometimes that inner voice sends you bad messages too. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's I'm just going through a session with one of my mentors, and it was all about your beliefs
Mm.
and limiting beliefs and changing that mindset and that inner vocabulary with yourself.
Yeah, that's so huge. Yeah,
Hmm.
so huge. And that, yeah, that comes down to conditioning and how we've been spoken to or, learnt behavior.
Yeah,
And then of
there
course
was
how,
a time when I didn't speak up at all. Like
yeah.
it was, if we were going out, oh, what do you want to do, Linda?
Oh,
Well, I don't know, whatever you want to do, because I was afraid that I would upset people by speaking what I really wanted to do.
mm,
And I just got back recently,
wow.
and it took a lot of work because I was afraid that if I spoke up and said my true feelings and my true thoughts, that people would leave.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's huge. And that's huge for so many people and especially women. And if I go back into the past, into history with, you know, as many of us now are looking at me personally, I've been really looking into um, my part in history when I was, I know that I was into witchcraft in a way that, I was burnt and I've been, a herbalist and all that. I've always known that I've been connected to that, and
Hmm.
I'm very connected to those eras where the witches were hung, drawn, quartered, burnt, whatever happened. And I think right now at this moment in time, the energy that I have felt from my past and that's in me, that is still there in my cells from past, from soul journeys, and feeling it now, there's a similarity to us as women. And I'm not just keeping this for women, but I'm just saying, as being a woman,
Hmm.
I know so many women around me right now who are dealing with that voice thing now, as to when do I speak, when do I not speak, and it goes down to what do I put on Facebook, what do I not put on Facebook, in fear of being shouted at, screamed at. And if I don't say it, am I not speaking my voice? If I do say it, I get sabotaged. So
You're
when
inviting people in to critique and criticize you
yeah, but it's
and
no
yell.
it's no
People
different
yell.
time. Yeah, they do. And it's no different to then. It's no different to that time. It's just that we now have social media. And do you notice with social media that people say things to you that they would never say to your face?
Yeah.
But they are quite happy to say it over a screen. And to me, it's shocking. And I've come to a place with my voice where I've learned now, and it was only really during this time through the first lockdown that I know where I sit in all this. So I'm happy with that, and I don't need to share that with anybody to make myself feel any stronger.
Mhm.
So I keep it really close to a small group of people that I trust, and that still makes me feel empowered within myself.
Mhm.
But some other people might need to say things out loud, and that's fine, you know.
I have a few friends that are very vocal.
Yeah.
Um, I think I have a softer approach because I've been from the other side where I've been shunned for opinions or beliefs or whatever. So I learned to keep quiet, and that in itself is not good. But I approach it in a softer way where um, I get my point across,
Mm.
but I don't seem to ruffle feathers. And I don't know if that's just me or whether I'm not really speaking my truth. So
Yeah.
that's why I need your class tonight to
Yeah.
find that out.
Well, that's a good one. Before you said it, I was going to say that to you, because there's
Mhm.
a fine line between. You see, it's why I call my yoga group disrupting rigidity, because a couple of years ago somebody said to me, "You are a disruptor of rigidity," and I thought that's perfect, because I do ruffle feathers, and I don't mind doing that because that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
You know, and then there's women that I know that do exactly the same thing, and then there's no coincidence why I am connected to those women, because we do the same thing. And we don't care that we do that, because it's there for a reason. It's there to shape people up, it's there to change people, it's there to shift people. And those are the people that you attract. Those
Yeah.
people that want that doing, those are the people that come to you. And you might find, you know, when you start to speak up, when you start to say the things that you really mean, the people
Mhm.
will drop off, because new people have to come in that are vibrating with your energy.
That's what we're talking about last night too, is sometimes you have to let go of people. It's not necessarily that they're bad. There's no right or wrong. They're not on your vibration
Yeah.
during this time of your growth.
Yeah.
They might be like even 20 years later, you run into them and they are now where you are at.
Yeah. Sure.
But until they get there, they're just holding you back.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. It's not that um, they don't deserve to be in your life, but it's they're not on the same journey that you are at that same time.
Yeah, and I know examples of that is that I've always in the past tried to keep hold of people. You know, it's almost like I've been a collector of people. It's
Mhm.
like, you know, oh my God, you know, it's almost that feeling of I need your reassurance to feel like liked, or, you know, to feel,
Yeah.
you know, that I'm doing my job. But, you know, it something does happen, and something does happen when you hit around 40. Something
Mhm.
changes, and you know they say this when you speak, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you hear people of 40 something say this to you and you think, what a load of
Oh
crap.
yeah.
But it does happen.
Hmm.
And something goes, like, clicks and goes, you realize that overnight you've actually stopped giving so much of a shit. And it's like
Exactly.
and those of you that are 39, believe me, it will happen.
Oh yeah. I didn't think it would happen, but here I am. I'm in a different country. I'm doing something that I never thought that I would do,
Yeah.
which is writing books and helping other authors on their journey. I never thought I'd be there. I was conditioned to accept my slot in life, whether it be because I changed careers. I was a journalist for 17 years.
Mm.
And the market fell away. Uh, Print died in some aspect, and I was all in print. I was newspapers and magazines.
Uh-huh.
And when that went away, I thought, what am I going to do now?
Mm.
So I went into the medical field. I was a ambulance dispatcher. I uh, put myself through school for medical administration,
Mm.
and I discovered the inner nerd in myself because I liked studying. I liked learning all these medical terminologies, how the body worked.
Mm.
But at the core, I was still helping people.
Yeah.
So my last job was scheduling PSWs and nurses for home care visits. And I saw things from the PSW or the nurse's perspective. I also saw it from the clients,
Mm.
but that didn't, um, I didn't have to accept bad behavior from either one. And that's where I found my voice. And I actually wrote a piece for Medium because I had a few bad bosses. And one of the guys that I worked with, I wasn't talking about him. He took it personally. And I was a little surprised because I didn't have that animosity towards him. I understood where he was coming from. Um, but it didn't mean that I had to put up with the language, the disrespect, and until I found my voice um, and stood up and said, okay, on a call with a client, and this is the client's family, they're berating the PSW, they're berating me. It's like, you know what, we're not getting anywhere with this conversation. Um, this conversation is going to end because I do not deserve this type of language and your animosity. And I ended the conversation. I'd never done that before. I just took it. Everything rolled off my back. But until I stood up and said no,
Mm.
then I would have just let it continue to happen. And I lost my voice um, in the course of the job with one of the bad bosses. And I was scared of the shadow of the person that I had become. I
Mm.
was no longer the person that had walked in 4 years ago.
Mm.
And I didn't think I could get another job. I thought I was worthless. And that's what it does to you.
Mm.
It strips away your identity, uh, how you think about yourself, and it puts someone in your place. You're still you, but it puts someone else in your place that is half the person you are, or even a quarter of the person you are. And
Yeah,
that is sad.
like an entity sort of thing. Something else
Mhm.
has come in. I know it's partly why I could never work. I mean, I tried working in businesses when I was, but I found out from a very young age that I was lucky that I found out that I could never work for anybody else. And I was really lucky that
Yes.
that I that I knew yoga so early that I knew that I could make it happen and make it part of my life and
Mhm.
make it my job and my lifestyle and everything and working in an office or working for people just it just doesn't go it doesn't
Completely agree. Um, I did work in an office environment for a very long time. It was, I was always bowing down to other people.
Mm,
And I felt that I was less of a person. Um, if I go back to work in an office now, I don't think I would feel that way now. But each step in my journey, I found my voice. And I was actually part of the article that I wrote um, in my studies for journalism. We had to learn print, newspaper, television, and radio. We had to learn how to write for them. We had to learn how to speak on camera. So I think it was my last broadcast. We had to deliver the news every Friday for Humber College. There's no one in the college at 4:30 on a Friday, but because you're on the air and there's the chance that someone might hear you, I got really really nervous. And when I get nervous, my voice gets really really small. So on my last broadcast, I delivered the news. I had my friends all behind me. I had practiced. I had good written copy for the radio, and I delivered it perfectly, very succinctly, very not forceful, but you could feel my presence. And my radio teacher, Judy, I got off the air and she says, "Oh my God, Linda found her balls." It's like, I did. So when I wrote that in the article, it's like, yeah, that was the first time that I actually used my voice. And now looking at speaking on camera and I'm fine. I used to be so nervous even like 2 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
I
did
didn't
when
like
I
how I
was,
looked. I didn't like how I sounded.
yeah.
I wanted to come across as an authority and my voice wasn't there. And I feel bad. I feel fine now.
Yeah. The thing about the camera is that with anything, it's you just have to be you. And I think when there's one thing people say to me is that when they watch me and I mess up or whatever, it's to me it's fine, because to me that's the true nature of who I am.
When you mess up, it's funny because you laugh at yourself and we all laugh with you. So, and you know that's happening.
Well, I do, because it's like I like humor and I like fun, and I feel that if we can stop taking life so seriously, there's always a core. There's something at everybody's core, and my thing is humor. You know,
Mhm.
if I'm feeling down, the first thing that I do is watch Billy Connolly, or you
Oh, yeah.
know, or connect to something that I find funny, and within a few minutes I can be lifted.
Mhm.
And I encourage people first and foremost to do that. What is it? A lot of times when you say to somebody, okay, so go and do something, that's fun for you. What you don't even know. So
Yeah.
how are you supposed to find your voice
If you
if
don't
you
know what's
don't even
fun.
know what it is that makes you tick? So yeah, the yoga class is very much about finding that space, and I encourage everybody that when they're doing the classes that they keep on practicing it, because it doesn't happen overnight. It's like,
Mm.
it always makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, I came to the class and it didn't work," or what. Well, not that anybody says that, because that's not true, but when somebody goes to a yoga class and they say, "Oh God, I went to yoga and it just, oh God, I was so bad," or whatever, and it's just like, it's like anything, it's like writing.
Mhm.
It takes time. It takes
Yeah.
continuous
I
effort.
found when I first started yoga, I was more concerned about being perfect, getting all of the moves, doing it well, what everyone else around me was doing. Now I completely zone out. Like when you do the breathing exercises,
Good.
um, that is my breath of fresh air
Yeah.
because I just get totally in the zone.
Mm.
One time, and I'm sure you'll remember this, I actually fell asleep. It was at the end of the session, so it was okay. I wasn't missing anything, but I actually fell asleep while doing the deep breathing at the end.
Good.
Yeah,
I always say to people, if they fall asleep, then that's what's needed. And
yeah.
I know Yoga Nidra says, although it's yoga of sleep, it means get onto the edge of sleep and don't go to sleep. But to
Mhm.
me, I always think, like I used to say to everybody who I used to teach, is the addicts that I used to teach, if you're going to sleep right now, then you're just meant to be asleep. So don't fight it. And I think that with a lot of things in life, it's that we fight. Oh, I have to be. And yoga's turned into that. So for your fine example for yoga is, people don't do yoga because they think that they have to tie themselves into some knot, which is the absolute opposite of what yoga is really about. It's what you see on social media, that is what yoga is, as people think yoga is, but that is far from what yoga is. And I look at it with people that are on there with 60 million thousand followers doing this particular yoga pose, and yes, very beautiful and all that, but to me that's just a wonderful shot that somebody's had taken and put as part of a instant, a social media.
I think it's more about stretching into the move and finding out what you're capable of doing.
Totally.
And it comes with practice. So you see a nice yoga shot, that person didn't get there instantly.
No,
They had to work
exactly.
to get there.
Yeah.
And I think once you start doing the work, you find out what you're capable.
Yeah. But I really encourage people not to think that yoga is about the postures. You know, the first thing in yoga was always the breath and the sitting. If you can't sit still and you can't breathe in yoga, then you might as well forget about the asana work, because the reason the asanas were created was so the yogis didn't get stiff after an hour or two's meditation. So they sat still and then they moved and they twisted and they turned. First they sat. So that is the start of yoga, is sitting still and breathing. And if you don't, it's all in the ancient scripts, it's all in Sanskrit, in the scripts, and it's there, written there, that is what yoga is. That is what it's about. Sit still and breathe and watch and observe the mind. Okay. And then time to get up. Oh, I'm feeling a bit, oh, I've just noticed this works just by doing, oh, something, oh, you know, and then it turns into what people see as acrobatics now. Oh God, I'm not going to a class because that's just I'm gonna be so embarrassed. Well, I just feel so sad for those people.
Yeah, that's how I felt at first. Not anymore.
No,
that was years ago.
Yeah, good.
I took a big break from yoga, but I'm back doing it now. And it's changed since I started.
Good.
I started in a gym class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I came out of the class at the end, could not talk, couldn't form a sentence because I was just so relaxed. And that was a good thing for me, because I wasn't a relaxed person at that point.
Well, there's one thing, as you know, I do say to people now, is because we're on Zoom, is to, if you really do feel you want to turn off your screen, that is, to me, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, I can't see you, but you take full responsibility for that.
Okay.
But I do think if that's going to keep you in a class online rather than you being on a screen with other people, then turn your screen off. You know, that's how I feel anyway. So yeah, I think, you know, that's I'll put the link for the classes up on here, and what you've been doing. That's amazing.
And if anyone is looking to work with me to get their voice out there and on the written page, I just recently published a book, George and Mildred, The Attack of the Meanie Girls, and it's doing quite well. But I'm also helping other authors, because there's this big mystery surrounding the world of publishing, and it's getting your stories out there. Get it out of your head. Indra, I'm looking at you.
It's happening. Once I've, as you know, I'm doing something else at the moment, but it is going to happen. And it's not an excuse anymore. It's not an excuse for 2021 that I don't leave that next year without at least having it done. And it's been there. And
even just starting. Yeah. Even just starting, like, I wrote this book as a present to my friend. It wasn't meant to be published, but it ended up, it was a very sweet story. And now there's 2 other books. So
yeah,
your voice needs to be heard. Your inner voice needs to come out through yoga. And then if you have that book in your head, or that story, and everyone has a story. I love hearing about different people's stories. Like, everyone brings something to the table, and this is your chance to put that out in the world and possibly help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your voice is important. Your inner voice, your outer voice. If the 2 mesh and they're the same, that's even better.
Yeah, totally true.
Yeah.
It is. And writing's a great way to get it out. You know, if you're somebody who is quite quiet and quite afraid of speaking up, is finding something like writing, and dance, movement, all that kind of thing is
I dance, I sing. There was a song that my dad used to sing to me, and I thought he made it up because he was that brilliant. And it went, no, 1,000 times no. I'd rather die than say yes. And he would do that every time I asked him something. And I thought he made it up. But it was actually a song from 1935.
Wow.
Betty Boop.
Oh, Betty Boop, I loved her.
Yeah, one of her short skits. And she would sing that to her attacker. And it was this man, looked like a man, but he was chasing her, trying to kiss her. And she would sing that to him. So I sing that to my dog. I sing that to my friends. I sing that to my nieces.
I love it.
I have a biological niece and a lot of honorary nieces, and they all know that song now.
It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, music is
singing,
a great
dancing,
way.
writing,
Yeah.
just however you want to express yourself through
Absolutely.
yoga. Yeah.
I regularly sing and regularly dance because that's, I've always done it as a child. So often at weekends, that's what happens in my house or wherever I'm at. The music goes on, and I'm not afraid of singing and dancing in front of people, so it
It
happens.
used to be. My dad, who I thought made up the song, also told me that when I sang, I sound like a dying cat. So I
Ah!
didn't sing for quite some time, but he didn't like the songs I was singing because I was singing anything beyond 1950 was crap, apparently, to him. So I'm singing songs from the 80s, and you sound like a dying cat. You're horrible. Stop,
Oh.
stop. And my brother picked up on it, and he started saying that to me. It's like, okay, then I won't sing. Now I sing all the time.
Don't stop singing ever.
No, no, and I wrote really, really bad poetry when I was a teenager because I didn't have a voice. So it came out in poetry. And then looking back, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I felt this way.
It's funny you say that because I started with poetry as well and
Yeah,
wrote, and I won a few competitions, and I was like, that was where my voice was,
yeah.
poems. So yeah, that's a really good one. Really good one.
Oh
So
yeah. No, I listen to poetry on a regular basis. I have books of poetry in my bookcase. I'm starting to write it again because I went through a prolific period where I wrote all the time, and I left those back in Canada in a storage box. So, and I can remember some of them, but I need new poems now.
yeah, they're obviously there for a reason.
They are, yeah.
Canada. I just want to say last night, just as a little heads up for a film to watch, I watched David Copperfield last night with Dev
Ooh,
Patel, and it just reminds me of now because that's about obviously somebody who becomes a writer, and it's such a quirky film. It reminds me of something that Wes Anderson would produce and direct. But if you get to the end of this Zoom and you want to just go onto Netflix and watch David Copperfield, it's really quite a quirky.
because I've never seen it. I've not read the book. I
It's
haven't.
a very quirky version, this one. So it's quite strange.
Who's in it?
Dev Patel, the guy who played
Oh,
the lead in Slumdog and
yes.
quite a few other films. Really,
He was
really,
in
really,
Lion, wasn't he?
yeah, yeah.
That was it. No,
But
he's
really, really good way of like sort of closing this off is that was a really good film to look at somebody who didn't have a voice and was called different names. Everybody used to call him different names. He was never called by his name. He was always called, something else, Daisy or whatever. And he just accepted it. He accepted it. He accepted it until the end came. No, I'm David Copperfield. And he started writing. And he started writing his
okay. I don't care what I'm doing today. I'm watching.
Netflix.
That's it.
Yeah. I think Netflix or Amazon. I think it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Amazon
I'll
Prime,
check.
right?
I'll check.
So
I've got Netflix.
I
So.
don't want to advertise Amazon right at this moment, but I think it's one or the other.
Just look up David Copperfield, where
David,
whatever platform
Dave Patel. Yeah, watch it. It's so good. It was so good. So
okay.
thank you, Linda. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Please check us both out on our
I love hearing stories
right
because we
below.
learn so much because someone they don't have the same experiences as you.
No,
So they have
exactly.
different experiences and you can learn from them and they can also learn from you. And
Yeah,
that's why I write. I
yeah,
write to communicate and to get my story out. And if
yeah,
it helps someone, all the better.
yeah. Thank
So
you.
thank you.